Moli Shani Bonse, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Fletcher if it's your first time here. And today we're going to be looking at the soft classic body type. Now, before we even get started, I'm going to go ahead and throw all the disclaimers. I'll put all the disclaimers out there for you. This is definitely going to be a controversial video because I'm going to be making the argument about the importance of merging your essences with your body type in order for you to create a harmonious personal style system for yourself. And I'm also going to give the argument of why one cannot do without the other. So one style system cannot do without the other. And I'm going to use celebrities as examples so that way you have a better understanding of what we're going to be talking about in this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the soft classic. So I have my, hold on, let me pull this up right quick. Because, oh, it's 306, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh. And in true Tembi's View fashion, I'm going to be using outfashiongarden.com's article to break down this archetype. And so let's get started. Soft classics are mainly classics with yin undercurrent. They have a balanced hourglass figure with soft, rounded features. They often have a medium height and a softness to their overall appearance. Their facial features are typically rounded with soft cheeks and a slightly rounded jawline. Their bone structure is moderate and can be delicate as well. And their overall body shape is balanced and proportionate. When gaining weight, a soft classic's body becomes very soft and the face becomes fleshy. The waist loses its definition, but they gain weight evenly in the bust and hip areas. The characteristics of a soft classic are as follows: moderate height, neither short nor tall, slightly fleshy body, symmetrical with rounded edges, soft arms, tight thighs, it said tights on here, but it means thighs and waistline, tapered shoulders or slightly sloped. They can look delicate, and they're also going to have moderate arms and legs, but they can be short compared to your body. You're going to have an evenly proportioned bust, waist, and hips as well. You're going to have a soft and wide nose, cheekbones, and jawline, which is somewhat rounded. You're going to have large eyes, soft cheeks, and full lips. Now, you're not a soft classic if you have very contrasting facial features. If you have very thin limbs, which are not fleshy at all, if you have very delicate bone structure, or have very sharp features, or have narrow or straight hips. And then soft classic celebrity examples. For our women of color or black women, we have Miss Lupita Nyong'o, who I am actually going to argue is not a soft classic in my opinion. Now, I want you to take this with a grain of salt. I want you to be able to put on your thinking cap as I break this down, my reasons down for you. I'm going to go ahead and put her on the screen right now, and I'm going to be comparing her to Keke Palmer, who I think is more of a soft classic. Now, she's not verified, but she definitely does have the features of a soft classic. And if you compare the two, yes, you can see balance, especially on Keke Palmer in her frame and even how the flesh sits on her body. And I think that's a major takeaway from this video, is that it's important for you to understand that yes, the bone structure of a person is very important because it definitely helps to shape how one appears to the world, but you also need to consider how the flesh sits on that bone, on the bones, because it's very intuitive. I think a lot of times people get thrown off because they see somebody who looks balanced, like for instance Lupita, and they'll just categorize her into the soft classic because she appears balanced. But if you take a closer look at Lupita, even though Kibbe has decided not to use facial features in order to type someone. I think that it's important in the sense of understanding someone's essence, and that's why I think that you need to work with both style systems in order to find your personal style. And so if you look at Lupita Nyong'o's face, I think that's the most balanced feature that she has on her body, and maybe her arms and legs appear balanced. But if you look at her overall body structure and the flesh on top, you can definitely see that she's not balanced at all, in my opinion. I'm seeing very significant width in her upper body, so her shoulders definitely have a lot of width in them. You can see some muscle on them and how the flesh is sitting on them. And then if you look at her bust area, there is really no curve going on. And it did mention here that their bust is going to be quite soft, as well as their hips. So there has to be proportionality. Is that a phrase? If that's a term at all? Yeah, so there has to be some form of proportion going on, or balance going on, in order for one to consider Lupita as a soft classic. And so for that very reason, I'm arguing that she's a soft natural and not a soft classic, because I have been looking at a lot of images of Lupita Nyong'o, and there is just something that is off about her in classic clothing. When she is fully wearing classic clothes, especially the ones that are a little bit more figure conforming and are quite, or the ones that are strappy, like the little straps, you can see that width, like you can't unsee it. And to me, that is definitely evidence that she's not a soft classic. So even if she happened to be a soft classic with natural essence, she would have the bone structure and flesh of a soft classic first, with some secondary features that are a lot more natural. But to me, it's the opposite. And you can definitely see it, especially when she loses weight, you see that soft natural frame showing. And I think for the most part, that's why it's easier to type people when they're at their skinniest and not when they gain weight, because the flesh on your body can be a little deceptive, especially if you have different essences in comparison to your body type. So like for Lupita, I believe that she has a lot of classic essence. It's probably even her dominant essence, and that's why she's able to wear quite a lot of classic lines well. But at the same time, she has to accommodate her soft natural body by making those clothes a little bit more open. You can definitely see the difference in when she wears classic lines that are a little bit more relaxed or open, especially on her, in her chest area. She looks so much more harmonious, and she looks so good in that type of clothing in comparison to the pure classic type of dressing lines. And so this is something for you to think about, because, you know, this is definitely my opinion, but I'm going to stand 10 toes down because I think that there is something to this theory. And that's why I think that a lot of people who hyper focus on one style system end up getting really confused, because you're disregarding the importance of someone's essence as well. And so if I were to look at people's faces, I would definitely see their essences in their faces versus their body types. Your body type is going to be your body type. Your essence is going to be secondary. And let's move on. Miss Keke Palmer looks a lot more balanced in my opinion. She has soft flesh, but everything almost looks symmetrical, even though there is no such thing as symmetry in people, because we have so many rounded edges and, you know, twists and turns on our bodies. But for the most part, you can definitely see that there's quite a lot of balance. And if you look at her facial features as well, yes, there is a bit of prominence in her jawline. You can definitely tell that she's not a romantic or theatrical romantic. There's no petiteness to her appearance. There's just more balance. So she's both yin and yang. You can see some slight sharpness. You can see some slight roundness. You can see some slight softness as well in her facial bones. And that to me is a textbook classic in my opinion. So that is that. A slight change of my outfit. I had to step out to pick my kids up from school. And so I hope there's not going to be too much noise in the background. I will try to do my best to get done with this video as soon as possible, just in case. So we were looking at Keke Palmer, and I would actually like to compare her to a romantic, because that's another body type that soft classics tend to be mistaken for. And for my romantic, I'm going to be using Miss Chloe Bailey because I think she's a textbook romantic in my opinion. And I'm also going to compare all three body types when they gain weight, so that way you can see the similarities and the differences in these three body types. So as you can tell, Chloe is very soft, she's rounded, she's pretty lush overall. And in comparison to Keke Palmer, who I think is balanced, more balanced, you can definitely see that the flesh on Chloe is really pronounced. So the first thing that you definitely see when you look at her is curve. And I think it's important for you to be able to use that as a differentiation. With Keke, I am seeing balance first, and then I'm seeing some curve. But obviously when she gains weight, you get to see more of that curve coming through. And I think that is why soft classics are confused with romantics a lot of the time, is that once they gain weight, they look a lot more rounded and a lot more softer. But overall, you'll be able to see the balance in their facial features. You're not going to see too much of that lushness in their features or even on their body, even if they do end up looking really, even if their hourglass looks a lot more accentuated. The flesh on their body just sits a little differently. And then you can go a little bit further even by looking at how their flesh interacts with fabrics. So as a soft classic, clothing lines that are a lot more classic in appearance are going to look amazing on you, versus clothing pieces that are a lot more romantic. So like really soft, flowy, curvy lines, or like draped fabrics don't look as amazing on classics as they do on romantics. So that's another differentiation that you could definitely use to make your argument. And then when it comes to soft naturals, when Lupita Nyong'o was at her heaviest, she definitely did look a lot softer. But something to me that is definitely giving her away as a soft natural is her bust line. Her hips, yes, widened. Her bust even got a little bit larger. But you can tell that her bust area was not pushing up against fabric at whatever stage, at whatever weight she's at. You just don't get to see that. And that is very common with the natural family and even dramatics, pure dramatics. So even if they have larger busts, they don't necessarily have to put it into consideration when it comes to picking out clothes. For naturals, you're going to find that the first accommodation for most of them is they're going to be thinking about their width. And then they will look at their curves. But for other softer types, like soft dramatics or soft classics, soft gamines, and romantics, you're going to find that you need to accommodate your bust as well as your hips in order for your clothing to sit on you perfectly. So that is another thing for you to look at. And then before we move on to the dressing lines, I wanted to look at Cheryl Lee, what's her name? I think she's Cheryl Lee Ralph, I think. I could be butchering her name. Please forgive me if I am. I'll put it here on the screen. So Cheryl has been presented as a dramatic in so many videos that I've seen online. But I would like to make the argument that she's actually a soft classic, and I'd like you to hear me out on this one. Let's take a look at some of her pictures. Cheryl is 5'7", and Kibbe has mentioned that if you're at least 5'6.5", you can only be the yang archetypes, so the body types, which are flamboyant, natural, soft dramatic, and dramatic. But I would like to argue that that statement is contradictory because the same approach hasn't been taken in the case of Beyonce. Beyonce happens to be 5'7" as well. But if you look at her body, the way her proportions are and even the way her flesh sits on her body is very different to that of a soft dramatic. Where was I? Sorry, I had to step out again. Having the kids at home is a lot more tricky for me, makes it tricky for me to film. So, where was I? I was talking about Beyonce and I was making the argument that typing her as a romantic would be contradictory if she was just the only exception. And Kibbe has stated that there are anomalies when it comes to body types, typing people, especially when it comes to women who are on the shorter side. I know he typed certain women who are quite short as yang types, so as dramatics or soft dramatics. But I think that he needs to take the same approach even with women who are on the taller side, because some women look a lot more balanced while others even look, well, not petite, but people who are taller. I've met women who are taller and they just appeared moderate to me. But they would, and if I asked their height, they would say, oh yeah, I'm actually 5'7" or 5'8". I'm like, yeah, you don't look like you're that tall. And that is why I'm making the same argument about Cheryl. Now, let's take a look at her bone structure. I have looked at a whole bunch of pictures of her and I've compared her to other dramatics. I need to check on my son real soon. Let me finish this really quickly. And something that I noticed about her is that she gives off a lot of balance, in my opinion. Yes, her face is quite dramatic. She has that really lean and dry flesh on her face, but she also has some romantic essence there. And I wanted to make sure that before I presented her to you, I did my homework and made sure that I pulled all the stops before I made a definite decision, or before I gave a definite opinion, rather. And I don't think her romantic essence or her classic essence, for instance, is what makes her flesh appear the way it does on her frame. I am definitely seeing quite a bit of curve on her. It's not extreme, but it's pretty pronounced. It's pretty prominent to where you can't deny the fact that she's one of the softer types, in my opinion. So if I were just to look at her face, I would say she definitely has some dramatic essence, and hence why you see her in dramatic clothing. But if you were to look at how fabric interacts with her flesh, you can definitely see that, to me, she looks a lot more harmonious when she wears clothing that accommodates her curves versus really dramatic outfits. The outfit where she's wearing a suit and it's really graphic, that can work for some dramatics. Of course, clean lines look much better on dramatics, but they can get away with a little bit more of geometry and even shapes and even pattern. But on Cheryl, it is just not working. To me, it looks like the outfit is wearing her and not the other way around. And so as a dramatic, even if she had tons of romantic essence, she would have been able to pull off something. She would have been able to pull off dramatic lines and just added a little bit of romantic elements to it. But as you can see, the outfits that look a little bit more classic, in my opinion, definitely work amazingly well on her. And so this is something for you to think about. I'd like you to give me some of your opinions in the comments down below. This video is definitely going to be an interesting one, but I'm excited to start the conversation. What do you think? Is Cheryl really dramatic, or is she a soft classic? I am going with soft classic for now. Of course, I'm open to more opinions, but I'm definitely leaning towards soft classic for her and not dramatic, because she's just way too moderate, in my opinion. She looks really balanced. She doesn't actually look as tall as she actually is, in my opinion. But that is something for us to think about. So now let me go ahead and finish this video off for you because it is long. It is getting long. So let's look at some of the recommendations of the dressing line. But all in all, the soft classic dressing line should be symmetrical. They need to be soft and with waist emphasis. Flowing garments with draping look great on them. The fabrics should be light to moderate weight, not too heavy or stiff. High-waisted bottoms help keep the balance. They should have some shape as well. Fabrics and materials need to be high-quality fabrics like cotton, wool, cashmere, linen, or silk. And they also need to be moderate and lightweight materials. And also small prints are going to work well on you. Shapes and overall outfits, soft, symmetrical, feminine style. Items should fit in a moderate way, not too tight or oversized. Symmetric shapes and monochromatic combinations. You're going to need waist definition in every outfit. For tops, they're going to need to be elegant, symmetrical tops made of lightweight fabrics. Round necklines, crew necklines, and soft draping. Shirring and gathering. Loose turtlenecks, delicate lace, tapered sleeves that gather at the wrists. For bottoms, you're going to need pants that end above the ankle or high rise is preferred. Wide leg pants made of lightweight fabrics, tapered pants at the bottom, straight leg and mom jeans, and softly tailored pants. And then for skirts, we're going to look at short skirts to medium length, 2 inches below the knee, flowing and lightweight fabrics, A-line skirts or flared skirts, small prints and patterns. Dresses for the soft classic. You need graceful soft dresses with waist definition, short to medium length dresses, soft wrap, A-line with lightweight fabric, fit and flare, and sheath dresses. Then they also need to be very feminine. They need to have smooth sleeves that can be moderately puffy. For sweaters, lightweight and soft fabrics like cashmere and angora, turtlenecks and crew neck sweaters. Always define where your waist is in a French tuck. Textured knits, well-fitted cardigans with buttons. For outerwear, waist definition, soft shapes, soft to moderate length. And then for longer coats and jackets, always look for the ones that have a belt included or add one yourself. And so these are all of the recommendations that I have. For hairstyles, I always encourage you to look at your essences for hairstyles and makeup because I think those play a major role in how you appear or in how you're going to look harmonious with your body type. So that is that. And so to end this video, I'm going to do the usual comparison between 2 women who I think are both soft classics. And I'm going to go for Miss Cheryl this time and Oprah Winfrey because they're pretty close in terms of their appearance, in my opinion. But I'm not going to hyper focus on the essence this time because essence is personal. Our essences, or our personalities rather, are shaped by our experiences versus being put inside a box just because of the way that we appear. Of course, the way that people see us matters as well, but ultimately no archetype is a monolith. Everybody is uniquely different. So I am just going to focus on their movements so that you can see that gracefulness in the way that they carry themselves and just how polished and even quite sensual they look. They're slightly sensual, but it's very demure. Like they're very demure in their movements and in the way that they handle, in the way that they carry themselves. And so that is that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so and give this video a thumbs up. And we are going to be moving into the soft natural, or looking at the soft natural in my next video, so stay tuned for that. And I hope to see you then. God bless. Bye. God bless. Bye. Bye.